Ukraine. France doesn't have to ask permission from NATO. And like NATO allies don't have to agree to France sending troops had they wished to do that. So for instance, Macron saying Western troops, he could mean French troops. He could mean, it could be like Poland sending their own troops, or Latvia or Lithuania or anything. So even if that were a consideration, which it really isn't at the moment. It was just Macron speaking, his mind. Then it wouldn't necessarily immediately mean NATO. It could mean just Western troops, like of any country that is Western. Hi, Martin. Hi, Niels. Hi, Brexis. Hi, Ian. Hi, last one. Hi, Paul. Also, hi, Bernard. Hi, Ihor. Hi, Karine. Hi, Max. Yeah, the only issue with sending your troops without NATO backing is you might not get Article 5 if attacked. Yeah, yes, so that is true. Basically, let's say Poland decided to autonomously send Polish troops to Ukraine, and then Russia attacked Poland, and Poland decided to invoke Article 5. NATO can be like, well, you asked for it. So they might not. That's like the only sort of that's like the only repercussion for a country to send their troops without sort of pre-agreeing on it with NATO. But I feel like in this situation that wouldn't happen. Like, I mean, if Poland did send troops to Ukraine and then Russia attacked, I doubt that NATO would not invoke Article 5. Not that it's even a consideration. Let's get it straight. It's not a consideration at the moment, but I'm just saying that would be sort of, I don't think that if that was the case, I don't think that NATO would not protect Poland, because obviously Poland would be protecting Ukraine from Russia that already attacked. Hi, Grumpy. Also, it does not say Kyiv regime. It does say Kyiv regime. There is no such city as Kyiv. It doesn't exist. Kyiv, however, does exist, and it is a very big deal for Ukrainians. So I do ask you to please never use the term Kyiv, because I don't know where that is. Maybe there is a city like that somewhere, but that is not capital of Ukraine. And this does say Kyiv regime. And I love this sweatshirt. It was a gift from John on YouTube and TikTok. Well, he's both on YouTube and TikTok, but it was a gift from him. And it's from a Ukrainian brand. I think it's either Riot Division or Syndicate. I actually don't remember. It's one of the Ukrainian brands, and I really love it because I think it's like a fun satirical thing. You eat too much. Are you jealous? Do you want me to send you some food? Do you want a care package? I can do that. We have really good food in Ukraine. You tell me where you live, Bubba, and I'll do it. Anyways, but it's a good idea from Macron. Normally he's trash. Yeah. Oh, hi, Gabby. Hi, everyone. Hi, Grumpy on YouTube. Hi, Grumpy on YouTube. Hi, Hydrocarbon, and hi, Dawn. So yeah. Hey, everybody. How is it going? Hi, Armin. Oh, hi, ominously backed art. Oh, Yewleea, Slava Ukraine. Thank you. Heroyam Slava. Hi, Yana. Good to see you. But yeah, the sweatshirt says Kyiv regime, and I think it's a very fun, like, little sarcastic thing, because you know how Putin and like people like Tucker Carlson consistently keep saying the Kyiv regime. And it's funny because, I mean, it's a democratically elected government, but okay. Anyways, the Kyiv regime. I do love it. Don't forget to leave a like. Thank you. You guys are very sweet. When I saw your interview on Kyiv Post, it made me proud. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I really did enjoy the talk with, Peter Dickinson. He's fantastic. I also did not know that, there were so I thought that the shorts, or like I guess like little sneak peeks from the interview would be on YouTube, but they're on TikTok, which I had no idea about. And I was talking to one of my really good friends on the phone today, and she was like, "Oh yeah, and TikTok showed me like your interview snippets." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's on TikTok, and the comments there are hilarious. It's all Russian bots." So I actually went in the comments, and it is actually all Russian bots, and it is so freaking funny. I took screenshots, but obviously I probably took them on the phone from which I'm streaming on TikToks. Yeah, that's what I did. So I will not be able to read them to you, but they are fascinating. It's one of the comments was something like, "What about American Indian?" And so what they meant actually was, "What about Native Americans?" As in, like, they were trying to say that, I was talking about Russian colonization and stuff. And so I responded saying that I don't particularly like American Indian cuisine. I do prefer just Indian cuisine, but it's a very individual choice. So basically I went into the comments of that video and I was just having a time of my life. So yeah. Thank you so much, Jess. So I thought it was, I saw that comment. Well, I mean, listen, it's like one of my favorite things with bots is that like they say ridiculous stuff, right? And a lot of the times they can't spell. Like they cannot spell at all. And I love that because any person who's like learning English or does not speak English fluently, I would never make fun of them, right? Because learning a new language is fantastic. And the fact that you speak more than one language is fantastic. But if it's a bot, if it's a Russian troll, and they're just like really bad at spelling, I will make fun of it because it's just freaking perfect. They say things that make zero sense. This guy was like, "Ukraine doesn't exist." And I was like, agreed on that. Ukraine, however, does. Because they always misspell Ukraine. Then there was like some person. So I've seen every variation of Donbass misspelled under the sun. But I found a new one today, and it was something like Bondas or Bombas or like Domas or it was something new. It was something very new. And I was like, where is that? Then there was a person who was talking about how much they love Russia. And I was like, "Would you like to move there? Can I buy you a ticket? I can help you do that. I would love to do that." And they responded to me in Google Translate Russian that they live in Russia and they love Russia. And I was like, "So you live in Russia and you have to use Google Translate to speak Russian?" I doubt it, highly doubt it, because in Russia, they don't speak anything other than Russian. They're actually very, they're very condescending to people who don't speak Russian. So it's just kind of like, how did you survive? Oh my God, can we make a documentary about you living in Russia and not speaking Russian? Anyways, it was much fun. I did enjoy that comment section. I will be going back there before I go to sleep because I feel like I will find so much more. Thank you, Stephanie. Because I feel like I will find so much more amazing stand-up comedy material there. Anyone who moves to Russia right now has been radicalized or manipulated. Speaking of, do you remember? Hi, Sir TDS, and hi, Cheryl. Do you guys remember our buddy Tucker Carlson? Do you remember him? I'm sure you do. Do you remember that lovely little boring interview that he did with Putin that was so underwhelming that even Putin shills were like, "Why is this man rambling about history for an hour?" And then even like meme pages that have nothing to do with Ukraine and never post anything about Ukraine, literally were like responding to we're creating memes saying like, "Oh, so why did you invade Ukraine 800 years ago or like 1,000 years ago?" Because that's literally what it was. It was like, it wasn't even real history. It was pseudo history, right? But the funniest thing is that like everyone in the world was making fun of it because it was so ludicrous and it was like just so dumb. But so Tucker Carlson went on Hi Albert on someone else's talk show. And on that talk show, he was asked a bunch of questions about his interview with Putin. And this.
Leading of Putin saying that justification for continuing the war is denazification. I thought it was one of the dumbest things I'd ever heard. I didn't understand what it meant. Denazification? It literally means what it sounds like. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I hate that whole conversation because it's not real. It's just ad hominem. It's a way of associating someone with an evil regime that doesn't exist anymore. Leading of Putin saying that justification for continuing the war is denazification. I thought it was one of the dumbest things I'd ever heard. I didn't understand what it meant.
He then says that Putin demonizes Ukrainians and talks about how Nazis in Ukraine are not a thing and that this is the dumbest thing he's ever heard. He also, in that interview, said that his interview with Putin was one of the most boring things he's ever had to listen to. And he's also said that he was like annoyed. He was annoyed at all this historical rambling. So the interesting thing is, that I think that Tucker probably went to Russia, saw that well is about to dry up, and figured that he needs to start looking for alternate scenarios to getting paid, because he's probably very used to the Russian propagandist paycheck. And it is obviously very clear from being in Russia to anyone that it is a failing empire and their economy is a garbage fire outside of the fact that they invest all of their money into war. So I do think that probably did influence that. Also, and this is a conspiracy theory, so please take it with a huge grain of salt. It's not even a conspiracy theory, but Grumpy here put out a theory. You know how Zelensky just visited Saudi Arabia, and Saudis love throwing money around because they have a lot of it. So one of the ideas as to why Tucker changed his narrative is because Saudi has way more money than Russia does, especially in the current environment. And Zelensky just went there. He could have struck a deal with Saudis. He could have given them intel that they didn't have. He could have convinced them somehow. And what if Saudis actually threw some money at Tucker to change his narrative? Because that can also be the case. He could also be like, listen, this is a conspiracy. We're just throwing ideas around here, right? But yeah, so that's interesting. Obviously, that interview was also full of Tucker Carlson conspiracies and lies and gaslighting and stuff like that. But at the same time, that's a very big deal for Tucker Carlson to be like, so what did you think of that conversation with Putin? And it's like, oh, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I was so bored, right? So he was shitting on Putin all over the place. Interesting. So that was a very interesting rhetoric there. She who must not be named. I think he's virtue signaling to America first people. They think Russia invading the US will be an opportunity to revive Western civilization. Yeah, but he's not he's making Putin sound like an idiot. And the thing is, most of the people that believe MAGA and most of the people that believe Tucker Carlson and propaganda, it's not that they actually believe the ideas of the propaganda. They believe in the cult of in the personality cult of the people who tell them those ideas. Listen, if Tucker Carlson turned around today and said, hey, you need to donate to Ukraine. Actually, this entire time I had no idea what I was talking about. I went to Russia and it's a shithole. All of those people would be like, yeah, of course, Russia has always been a shithole. And that, because what they do is they operate on confirmation bias, right? So they look for information that confirms what they already think, which is why they constantly send you these like crazy articles from like RT and unknown publications that confirm like whatever Nazis and like some crazy rhetoric that Tucker spits out and all of these like far right propagandists spit out, right? Because it's confirmation bias. They're not looking for information that says any different. They're not looking for information that says anything other than that. And therefore, they keep finding things that confirm what they already think and what they want to believe. And so, for instance, if Tucker was like, oh, Russia killed people here, here, and there, Russia destroyed these parts of Ukraine, and Russia destroyed this, this, and that, even if he like switched his tune like that, all of these people would go and look it up in the words in which he's saying it, which would bring up the legitimate articles from different publications that would show them that that's true. And they'd be like, oh yeah, of course, it was always true. We always knew that. We always knew that. And they would just switch their tune. So that's the kind of thing, right? I don't think that he's virtue signaling really to anyone, because he's not making Putin look good by any means. Hi, Smiley. And hi, Salty Red. I have a lot of neurological problems. Not a clone, just bad at typing some days. That's not a problem. Well, listen, I misspell things all the time. If that was about the comment of making fun of Russian trolls, my spelling bullying is literally only spread onto Russian trolls. It only encompasses Russian trolls. What language do you speak in Ukraine? Ukrainian. What language would you expect Ukraine would be speaking? Obviously, Ukrainian, Japan, Japanese, England, English, France, French, Germany, German, Finland, Finnish, Sweden, Swedish, Russian, what's that? Oh, thank you for writing Russian from lowercase letters. I adore that. Thank you for supporting that. А тепер іди, будь ласка, нахуй. І піди пососи той хуй, який, напевно, ти тільки що витягнув свого рота, який належить Путіну. Якщо, знаєш, тобі цікаво, так ми розмовляємо в Україні. Дуже дякую. Іди нахуй. Anyways, thanks, Kat. I do love that. Anyways, America, English, Canada, Canadian. Well, yes, Canada, Canadian. Listen, hey, every one of these countries does have their own accent, but also I do want to, speaking of like Ukraine and Ukrainian and things like that. So yesterday we talked about Roka. Roka, which is this Я ж кавою подивилась. Well, I mean, hey, на здоров'я. Обережніше наступного разу. So basically yesterday we talked about Roka News, which is this like quote unbiased news outlet that was saying that they went to Ukraine and spent a whole month there, and everybody told them that it's a civil war. So that's why they keep referring to it as civil war, because until 2022, Ukrainians, in majority, because they've interviewed dozens of military and civilians, referred to it as the civil war, which no, I have never, ever heard a Ukrainian refer to Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2014 as civil war, whether it was pre-2022 or post. But anywho, so that publication blocked me for asking them to correct the language, and you can see the whole thing in my Instagram stories. But so I'm going to read you the responses of Ukrainians that I've actually received who are from the occupied territories to this garbage reporting. So I'm translating this, and there is a screenshot on my Instagram story if you want to confirm, if you want to like take a picture of that and then like translate it yourself. I did take out people's names because, that's just, I don't want to like dox them. Okay. More and more Europeans are falling for Russian propaganda. I'm from Pervomaisk, Luhansk Oblast. At 14 years old, before Russia invaded my land in 2014, I stood at the main square with a Ukrainian blue and yellow flag. Russian propaganda is so strong and widespread this month that people don't believe me and brand me a Nazi brainwashed by American propaganda. So this person said, right, that I spent a month in Ukraine and interviewed dozens of people, nearly all of them, including many in the military, called it a civil war. I understand what you're saying. So first of all, no one in Ukraine ever called it, neither in Russian, гражданская война, nor in Ukrainian, громадянська війна. It was always вторгнення, which means invasion. So this person speaks fluent Russian, so they would have to talk to people in Russian in Ukraine, right? In 2021 when they visited. And I can guarantee you that even all of those Ukrainians in the chat right now on TikTok, or if there are any on YouTube, please tell me, have you ever used a term гражданская война or громадянская війна when referring to the invasion of Donbass? So anyways, I asked Ukrainians actually, and I did specify that only Ukrainians should answer. And the votes this morning were at 553 votes for no, never, and 2 votes for yes. So then here is another answer that I received from another person. One says, thank you for sharing. When you have an opportunity, please give them, Ukrainian soldiers, my gratitude for fighting for Первомайське. I have faith that one day I'll be able to go home. Another answer. If I only knew, if I could only imagine what would happen in Luhansk in 2013-14, I would get rid of those lowlifes myself. Those that hung out near Luhansk SBU with a Russian flag. None of the civilians had time to deal with them because we had to work. On weekends, we did pro-Ukraine rallies. We beat up those lowlives and shot at them when the situation heated up, aka the doorstep to the invasion. This is another person responding to the story of the girl they saw from Первомайське. We are from the same place, Первомайськ. I remember that it was chaos. The government hoarded Aquafresh, which I thought referred to toothpaste, but actually no, that's Russian tricolor flags because they have the same color scheme as Aquafresh toothpaste. So my bad. In crates and prepared for full surrender to Russia. One couldn't go to the police and write a report about the armed militia, which suddenly appeared in the city. That's because the deep underground network of regional Yanukovych's party deputies, policemen, and top officials were already cooperating with Russian Secret Service. While we were left to watch our homes taken away and people killed, we couldn't do anything about it because no one at the top would officially confirm that it was a Russian invasion. So yeah. So these are only some of the answers that I've received from Ukrainians that have reached out to me to tell their story. Oh, there is another one. Actually, right now. I'm from Luhansk and I saw how everything happened. Literally, just in a span of a moment, some random people started blockading like government buildings. They took over military bases. Everything was pre-planned. Regular people didn't even have the time to understand anything by the point at which they were surrounded by Russian tricolor flags and flags of unknown to us republics. No civil war. Just an armed takeover by Russian secret services of our government. That's when chaos and lawlessness started. And then the fake referendum that no one that I knew ever attended. I am so ashamed now that we didn't understand anything and we did not give any meaning to those first days and let that happen. And that's actually really sad because a lot of Ukrainians blame themselves for not understanding that this is actually going to be a full-scale invasion. Full-scale invasion once, you know, when all of these like crazy people started appearing near admin buildings with Russian flags and stuff like that. Which, how could you know? You know, you would think these are just like crazy lowlifes holding Russian flags and nothing's gonna come of it. Like, right, there have always been like paid people that would do that sort of thing. And so no one really gave any of it any meaning because no one really thought that anything like that could happen. And then it did, and it did like full speed. And it's really sad because it's not Ukrainians' fault. It's the fault of freaking Russians and, you know, and them invading and coming in and taking people's homes and land. But of course, Ukrainian people blame themselves. Nowhere girl, Canada, English, French. Yes, I know, but I was talking to a troll who was telling me that Ukraine speaks Russian. So yeah. But that's that. And it's really, really sad that people blame themselves. Okay, so before we begin, the fundraiser total at the moment stands at $9,769.45. We are about $200 and change away from $10,000. Can we get that sorted tonight? Maybe that would be lovely. I know it's the end of the month, but it's also leap year and it's leap day of the leap year, and miracles happen on the leap day of the leap year. No pressure at all. So we're fundraising for, thank you, Karine. We're fundraising for Third Separate Assault for 6 DJI. Yes, thank you, Smiley. I did account for that in the total, of course, because I always, if anything comes during the off hours, then I just announce it at the beginning of the new live. And if it comes during the live, then I announce it during the live. So thank you very much. $9,769.45 for we are fundraising for 6 DJI Mavic 3 Pro drones for Third Separate Assault Brigade. If you are on YouTube and you would like to donate to the cause, then the link for the fundraiser is going to magically appear in 3, 2, 1, go, Grumpy, in the comments, and I will pin it. And if you are on TikTok, then the mods are going to send the link in the comments, and also you can go to my link in bio and donate there. There's PayPal, Venmo, Revolut, and Monobank, and every one of the donations. DJI Mavic 3 Pro drones are not weapons; they're reconnaissance drones. You can literally watch from those drones, so they're not weapons. Yeah. Okay, anyways. If Ukraine loses, NATO will fight Russia. Lloyd Austin, anyone hear this? Hi, Jenna. I mean, there are various different variations. There are different variations of that quote from different politicians, and yes, they're correct. Oh, Jason, thank you. Wait, 5137. So that brings us to $9,820.82. Thank you, Jason. I'm on both platforms, TikTok at the same time. Oh, nice. That's cool. And yeah, I mean, I haven't actually heard Lloyd Austin say that recently, but there are quite a few politicians from different countries who have said a variation of that same thing. And I mean, they're correct, because for some reason, it's so funny to me, right? When people say that, oh, if the West provokes Russia, Russia is going to go further. Russia doesn't have the power to fight the West. Like, the West has a lot of weapons. The West has a lot of capability, especially all together with the United States. Russia cannot take that on, and Russia knows that, and the West knows that. Right, but the West also doesn't want to involve their weapons, really the ones that they like and want, that are modern. They don't want to. Hi, Tom. They don't want to involve. Their soldiers. Obviously, they don't want, their soldiers in the battlefield. Understandable. We've never asked for that. But the point is that Russia cannot win against the U.S. and Russia cannot win against the Western coalition. Right? Russia cannot win against NATO. But the thing is, that if, like, how do you see that if Russia can't win in Ukraine, it'll keep going further? How do you see that? If Russia is still fighting Ukraine and can't win there, it can't go further simply because it can't even win in Ukraine. But if Russia continues going through Ukraine and Ukraine falls and Russia will keep going further and further, then it'll go further, right? Because Ukraine fell. Oh, thank you, Ashley. So we got another donation in the amount of in the amount of $25, which brings the total to $9,845.82. Sorry, $9,845.82. Oh, hi, Irina, thank you. $50 donation, which brings the total to $9,895.82. Thank you so very much. 9K would be a lovely donation. Oh yes, it would be a phenomenal donation. But listen, a $50 donation is also a phenomenal donation, and a $10 and a $5 and a $1. Yulia, are you still in Ukraine? Yes, this is my home. This is my abode in Kyiv. Actually, you know what, guys? You asked me to film a home tour at some point, and like, I will. I am just so incredibly garbage at making lifestyle videos because I am so incredibly garbage at making lifestyle videos. I could show you my apartment right now, just like a quick sneak peek. But the issue is that I would have to hold my computer and my camera and then my phone camera to show it to you. But yes, I do. But I do live here. This is my Kyiv apartment. I think the nicest thing about this apartment is the view onto that building that's lit up green every night, and it looks really beautiful. And I'm in pretty central, like I'm in a pretty central part of Kyiv. So Kyiv is similar to New York, actually, because there are a lot of different city centers now. And it's very interesting because there are now like different neighborhoods, and they kind of like attract a different crowd and stuff like that. And it's very cool. Like, I kind of moved in here without knowing whether it's like a cool neighborhood or not a cool neighborhood or like whatever. It was very convenient for where I needed to be, and the apartment checked all of my boxes and was in my budget. So I really did like it quite a bit. And I was, that's how I picked it. But turns out that this neighborhood is actually very good for me and for my dogs and for everything that I kind of need. There are lots of like cafes and coffee shops and little restaurants. There's everything I need here, literally. And Wikipedia lives 5 minutes away. So like, but let me try and show you. So you are definitely not going to be able to see the view on TikTok, simply because it's probably going to be like, it's not like my phone camera probably won't show it. Give me 1 second. But like, see that building that's lit up in green? So that's like that every night. And I like love that view. I don't know what that building is. I haven't seen it in person because I actually don't even know. Like my windows face the other street, I believe. So not the street where I get out of my building. And I live really close to the Golden Gate too, which I didn't like realize how close until I actually walked there today. And I was like, oh wow. I'm like, 15-minute walk, 10-minute walk from the Golden Gate. And I was like, I didn't even realize, because I've been sort of like running errands, and I've been, like getting places like in a car with my mom or with a friend, or like sort of like in a taxi or something like that. So I'm pretty well oriented in Kyiv, but not like, super duper oriented within the neighborhoods. And like I know how to get places and I know where each neighborhood is, but I'm not like really familiar with the neighborhoods themselves. And so so you stream using a laptop for YouTube and then phone for TikTok. So yeah, so I was just sort of like, I was just I went walking today and I was like, wow, I love this. Actually, I'm very close to everything. I went to the gym for the first time today in like a really long time, and I really liked it there, but I also realized that I am such a lazy POS. So I had a trauma a while ago, a knee trauma, and so I used to work out a lot, and I used to be like super into a lot of different sports, and I would I would do a lot of that, and that was like something that I really needed for my life. And then I in Johnny FD's old place. I don't know who that is, and I doubt it. So what was I saying? I have no idea who Johnny FD is, and unless he lived in Kyiv, I doubt it. But anyways, so what was I saying? Yeah, so I haven't gotten to the gym in a long time because I had an injury and then I was moving and like blah, blah. And then I was just simply lazy in the past couple of months. So I was like, okay, well, I'm physically so unfit. And like for me, the gym is not like, oh, I need to lose weight. For me, the gym is like fit. Like it's like strength and, like feeling good and stuff like that. And so I realized that I'm so incredibly physically unfit. And yeah. I don't know who Johnny FD is, but he raised more money for Ukraine than anyone and lived in town. I mean, I don't know who he is, but no, I'm not in his old place because it's not like an Airbnb or someone else's place. It's like it's an apartment that I rent. So I have no idea, but I'm not in someone else's old place because just like I don't know them. So I doubt that that's the case, unless they like fully moved out. But also there was a Ukrainian soldier that lived here before me, so no. Hi, Rubadub. But yeah, so basically I went to the gym. It was super. I like very much eased into training. So I was sort of like, I was very much like, it was super difficult because, I'm used to being able to do much more than that. And I was like getting super, I was getting super tired and obvious. Like I understand that for the first like month or so, I'm going to like not be able to do whatever that I'm used to being able to do. And it's, okay, can I just straighten something out? Johnny here. I'm not renting from him. I'm not living in someone in like you might think that it looks to you like it's Johnny FD's place. It is not. I'm renting a place from a woman who owns it. She's not Johnny FD. Like I am so happy that it might look to you like someone else's apartment, but like honestly, the amount of comments that you've written trying to like insinuate that this is this person's apartment is just like, first of all, it's so unimportant. Why is it important? Like, why is it important whose apartment it is? Like I've said, literally, like it is not theirs. Like I'm sure they have a lovely apartment and I'm sure they've done like a lot for Ukraine. And I really like appreciate that. But why is it such a big deal? And also, why can't you fucking take no for an answer? I do not live in some man Johnny's apartment. I rented from a woman who owns this apartment and a bunch of other apartments in this building. And a Ukrainian soldier lived here before me. Unless Johnny FD is a Ukrainian fucking soldier, it is not his apartment. Are we done? Thank you very much. Closed subject. Like I literally keep looking at the chat and it's just the comments about this dude and his apartment, and it's like not his motherfucking apartment. Jesus Christ. Anyways, and I love how like I'm being convinced that I'm living in some dude's apartment while I'm telling you I know who the previous renter was. Like, goodbye. Anyways, Okay, I hope we're done with whoever's apartment is so important to talk about during this live. But anyways, anyways, are you sure you know? Yes, I'm sure I know because I was told, because I was actually curious and I wanted to know who my neighbors are and like how, like kind of like, you know, do they have pets, like stuff like that. Johnny can go to another place. Congratulations, your apartment looks like an apartment. Let's move on now. I love that comment. Thank you. That is actually super funny. Yes, right? Doesn't it look like an apartment? I love apartments. Apartments look like apartments. I love apartments. Anyways, I can tell you lived in New York City for 13 years. It shows, yeah, well, I want to know. Like, I want to know if they're going to be complaining. I want to know if they're like in their 60s. I want to know if they're in their 20s or 30s. Like, I want to know if they're going to be throwing parties. Like, there's a dude who lives literally above me who from Friday, no, sometimes from Thursday night to like Saturday night, for every single weekend that I've lived here has been playing like atrocious. And I mean, like, I don't like EDM to begin with, but like atrocious EDM, like horrendous EDM, okay? And so loud. He's been playing it so loud in his apartment that like I could hear it in my apartment as if it was like faintly playing in my bedroom. So like I could hear it, okay? And oh, Salty Red, welcome to Agent Beat. Thank you for becoming a member of the YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, but so it was horrendous, and like I've struggled through it for like 3 weekends, and I mean like 4 nights in a row, and it plays until like 6 in the morning, okay? And then I called security and I was like, hi, if you don't stop this, I'm gonna go to this man's apartment and I'm gonna pay him a visit and he's not gonna fucking like it. So yeah, that he hasn't been playing loud music since because well, he's been told by security. Probably he's been told a couple of very nice words by security, but it was atrocious EDM. Like at least it was like a norm, you know, if it was something normal. But also 4 nights in a row every weekend is just like, please stop, dude. Like I would like to listen to my own music, but I can't because it just like interferes with your music and it becomes mush. Anyways, horrendous. The main thing I wanted to know when I was renting is how many children were around me, aka am I gonna hear crying, screaming, etc. forever? I'd rather deal with parties than a school bus of children. I literally didn't buy a home because across the street 14 children. There's no way one wouldn't wonder. Oh my god. You're my spirit animal, Diane. I feel you so much on this. I do not. I also, yes, I wouldn't want to live near an infant because personally for me that'd be difficult. But I wanted to know if they had pets because Liv barks sometimes, and if they have pets, then they're not going to be like, there's a dog barking there like 10 minutes out of the day. But she like doesn't bark continuously. Like she'll bark like once in a while. She's not like terrible at barking, you know. She has like times of the day when people come back from work and she keeps hearing people in the hallway, she'll bark. But like she's not like barking in the middle of the night type of dog or like barking early in the morning type of dog. By no means. She's 5'2" with a 6'4" personality. No, I'm just like it's a 5'2" personality, you know, like I don't take any shit from people. Jesus Christ. And I also can stand up for myself, which I think is a great quality that I had to work on for a long time. And now that I can, I enjoy it and I use it. Anyways, but so yeah, that's just, you know, that's just the thing. It's just like I know that sometimes like especially if it's like older people and you have a dog, it might be like difficult. Anyways, so I just wanted to know what my neighbors are like. So summary of the fundraiser is we're at $9,895.82. We're a little over $100 away from $10,000. Do you think we could make that happen on this leap day of the leap year? Da-da-da-da. Can we? Anyways, Prime Minister Pashinyan explained what the actual freezing of Armenia's participation in the CSTO means. According to him, that is the absence of a permanent representative at the organization, as well as the non-participation of Armenian representatives in events at a high and senior level. Pashinyan announced the suspension of Armenia's participation in the CSTO on February 23rd because Armenia is incredibly disappointed in Russian peacekeepers because they're useless, and they were never there to keep peace. They were actually there to further the conflict and to incite trouble between Armenia and Azerbaijan. They were basically playing the two countries off each other in Russia's favor. So Russia can then come in and save the day for Armenia when they were actually not doing that. Oh, $31. Thank you, Mashbuck. So we are at $9,926.82. So close. So close. Zelensky spoke with the president of Moldova about the events in Transnistria. The leaders of the countries discussed recent events in the unrecognized Transnistria, Russia's attempts to destabilize the situation there, and effective tools for countering the influence of the aggressor country, the report said. Hey there, do you know Ukrainian language? Yes, я розмовляю українською мовою, оскільки я народилася і виросла у Львові. Півжиття прожила в Україні до того, як переїхала в Америку. Okay, so the leaders of the countries discussed recent events in the unrecognized Transnistria, Russia's attempts to destabilize the situation there, and effective tools for countering the influence of the aggressor country. The report said, separately, Zelensky and Sandu considered the operation of transport corridors for the export of Ukrainian products through the territory of Moldova, provided the situation at the Polish border at the moment. Thank you, Victor. The parties also discussed the integration of Ukraine and Moldova into the EU and agreed on further mutual support and coordination of efforts on the way to membership, which is really nice. And it's nice to sort of be on friendly terms with Moldova. First of all, they understand us in terms of Transnistria. So they understand us in terms of Donetsk and Luhansk. And also they understand us because they are on the way to their EU membership. But it's, Transnistria obviously happened a very, very long time ago, and it's been oh my gosh, Karine! Wait, we got $51.81. Oh, sorry, $51.81, which brings us to $9,978.63. Thank you, Karine. Yes, I just did. They were there at the expense of indigenous. Did you see the QOTD? QOTD, question of the day. What question of the day? Hi, Super Hornet. Welcome back. Tinman. Interesting. What was I saying? Oh, sorry. But yes, so Transnistria happened a very long time ago. How can I donate? You can donate to my, which platform would you like to donate through? Would it be Venmo or PayPal? Because one of the mods, you can donate through Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, or Monobank. I'm assuming usually it's PayPal. So if you are in the United States, then my mods can give you Venmo. Okay, so it's the same as. It's the same as my Venmo basic. It literally is the same as my handle on TikTok and YouTube. So yeah, Venmo handle is the same as my YouTube handle, and Venmo handle is the same as my TikTok handle. So it's YEWLEEA. Grumpy, I was just curious. Russia has culture? Not really, but I mean, the pseudo-Russian culture of ballet and, obviously genocide. Oh, look at that. Russian trolls found my TikTok, my YouTube. I love that. Hi, Chad. Welcome to the Leap Year Day stream. Leap Year Day? Yes, Leap Year Day. Actually, I should have called it Leap Year Day, but it is what it is. I think that trolls might be finding my YouTube. right now. And I'm actually kind of excited. It's so nice. Like, oh, hi, welcome. They think they're here to like annoy me, and they think they do such a good job at annoying me, but they don't. They do a terrible job at annoying me. They do a great job at entertaining me. Armin, can you resend the QOTD so I can read it? Great, I eat Russian trolls for breakfast. Not Russian infants? Oh, that's probably because you're not Ukrainian. I get it. Armin's quote of the day today was, wars produce many stories of fiction, some of which are told under, Wars produce many stories of fiction, some of which are told until they're believed to be true. Ulysses S. Grant. I also always mispronounce his name. I think it's Ulysses or Ulysses S. Grant, but it's a very good quote because yes, it's similar to the winners of wars write history, right? And a lot of the time, the people who win the war are the ones who write history, and it's really upsetting because, for instance, the Soviets wrote the history of the ending of World War II, and it wasn't quite as it was told. Russia was not this big hero. Also, Russia continuously kept writing Ukraine's history and describing Ukraine to the world, and only under their own veil and influence, which is sort of like through their lens, which is please stop speaking over us and please stop telling people what to think of us while you have never actually been to Ukraine and don't know what it's like. And here's the funny thing, so I will actually tell you a hilarious freaking story. I will tell you a hilarious story. Okay, so Ukraine is a very digital country, right? There are a lot of like super far-fetched, very modern things that happen. So for instance, my gym, it's not super expensive by any means. It's not like the toppest, like the most like, it's not like the bougiest gym in Kyiv. It's like a reasonable average, right? Like it's not like the cheapest gym, but it's like a medium gym. And so they give me a card at the gym, and that card locks and unlocks my locker. It like basically there is an app that tracks your progress. There is just like so much. Hi, thank you, K-Bell. So there's like, it's like a really cool, and every single time that I just see these normal for Ukraine things, because apparently this is normal, while in New York gyms, I have to buy padlocks and half the lockers are broken. So anyways, so there is like a membership card that locks and unlocks the lockers, that does like a bunch of stuff. Like they take a picture of you, and like when you check into the gym, there is like a scanner that takes a picture of your face and reads your card. And it tells you if you forget your locker number, you can scan the card and at this like little reader machine, and it'll tell you which locker your card is attached to. If you forgot your stuff in the locker and the locker is locked and you didn't take it out, and like your card is still assigned to a locker, like the gym will not let you out, like the turnstile will not turn. So anyways, these are like normal things apparently, okay? And every single time things like that appear in front of me in Ukraine, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And people are just like, because they're so used to it, right? And they're like, oh, where are you from? And I'll be like, oh, I just moved to Kyiv. And so they assume that I moved from like bumblefuck nowhere, which is why all of this stuff impresses me, right? And so at some point in these like couple of weeks, someone had asked me where I moved from, and I said New York, and they seriously asked me, oh, the village in Donetsk? And I was like, no, the fucking huge city in America. I moved here from New York in America. It's just, in the United States, when you go to a post office, nothing happens. It's garbage, and it takes like 3 hours to send a package, and someone yells at you. We do not have Nova Poshta. And even the bougiest gyms, you still have to buy a padlock because they don't have these things. And generally Ukraine is just more developed in a lot of ways than the US is. And I'm sorry, I get it. You're probably shocked by that. But yeah. I'm not used to all of this technology in random places, especially if they're not like top of the line or the coolest or the most modern or like the most expensive places. Like, sorry, you're so used to fucking cards that open lockers. Like, okay, I'm not. And no, I'm not from New York, the village in Donetsk. I moved from New York, the freaking one of the largest cities on the planet. Thanks. But I thought that was really funny. I thought it was super funny. Anyways, yeah. Belgium will allocate 200 million euros for the purchase of artillery shells for Ukraine, which the Czech Republic found in a certain country outside the European Union, said the Prime Minister of Belgium, Alexander De Croo. Didn't like the metro get hacked sometime in Ukraine? I don't know what you're talking about. We will never be able to match the sacrifices that Ukraine makes every day, but we can give President Zelensky what he asked for, more ammunition to repel the Russian aggressor, the Prime Minister said. He added that more ammunition will arrive in the coming weeks. You can move there and live for free. Where? In Ukraine? I'm in Ukraine, and I don't live here for free. Thank you very much. YouTube travelers Kara and Nate mentioned Ukraine as one of their favorite places in the world. Oh, that's so nice to hear. Yes, no, you can't live for free in NYC. But I've literally lived there for 13 years, not free. I still partially live there. But yeah, so yes, ammo production should have started in 2022. It did, and like Europe is also, so they're going back on their promise that they will not be buying ammo outside of the European Union because, well, they need to if they want to supply Ukraine in time with what Ukraine actually needs. And so they finally are now buying shells from countries outside of the EU, which is like, thanks. Like, I understand that you need to drive European economy and war is profitable for manufacturers, but at the same time, like, this is not a joke, and you're clearly unable to produce as much ammo as is needed in that short of a time frame. So it's better to buy it outside of the EU. No, Europe is just like, they're not in the wartime economy, so they don't have as much ammo as we need. And they weren't buying ammo outside of the EU before that. Ukrainian defense forces shot down another Russian Su-34 fighter bomber in the eastern direction at night, reports Ukrainian Air Force Commander Oleshchuk. This is the third Russian aircraft downed in the last 3 days. So funny enough, Russian propaganda, Russian chills, and people like Andrew Perpetua on Twitter, who are just like garbage journalists, have been saying that, Ukraine is lying, and Ukraine is just lying to cover for lack of ammunition. So first of all, Ukrainian 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, which is the brigade we're fundraising for, just took back Horlivka. Вечір в хату привіт. Just took back Horlivka and from Russian control and liberated it. So that's fantastic. And yes, we do have lack of ammunition, and still 3rd Separate Assault managed to liberate a settlement. Russians, and also, like, it's so funny how Russians are like, oh my gosh, Ukraine is lying about these aircraft. Who are they relying on? Like, all of these like terrible journalists are doing that stuff, are saying that stuff as if it's like unbelievable that would happen. It's pretty obvious at this point that Ukraine has a mobile Patriot battery that kind of travels around where it's needed. We took down 2 AWACS, one of them very recently and one of them quite recently. How would it be difficult to take down 3 SUs? Well, we could take down something like an AWACS. Like, come on. Russians shelled the village of Ponyativka in the Kherson region in the morning, killing a 35-year-old man. The shelling damaged residential buildings and farm buildings. Today, around 9 a.m., 2 more Russian Su-34s were destroyed in the Avdiivka and Mariupol directions, the Ukrainian Air Force reported. The absence of the A-50 aircraft in the sky makes it easier to target Russian aircraft, said Yewleea, head of the Air Force. That's why. Russia's blind. 5 more children were returned from the temporarily occupied Kherson region to the Ukrainian-controlled territory, 2 girls and 3 boys. Американська. Я думала, що ти мені комплімент зробиш на мою, як це називається українською? Взагалі, ні, українською це називається sweet shot. І це такий дебілізм, тому що sweet, like, солодкий, it's sweat shirt. Like you sweat in this shirt. So Ukrainians call this a sweet shot, okay? And it's so stupid because it's a sweatshirt, right? And it's just like difficulties in transliteration, but sweet shot. Like, no, it's a sweatshirt. You freaking, you sweat in it. It's a sweatshirt. Okay. These are children aged 4 to 16, including 1 orphan. Now they're in a safe place. Doctors and psychologists are working with them, said Prokudin, head of the Kherson Regional Military Administration. Western leaders must not rule out sending ground troops to Ukraine, says Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas. Because all countries have understood that we have to do everything so that Ukraine wins and Russia loses this war. Kallas told Politico's Power Play podcast. I mean, Kaja Kallas is always on point. And Kaja Kallas is fantastic. Now let's talk about Putin the clown and his nuclear threats, nuclear red lines, and other such imaginary geometrical figures that he has mentioned in the previous 2 years. Russian strategic nuclear forces are in full readiness for use, says Putin. Furthermore, according to him, the Zircon sea-based hypersonic strike complex has already been used in the battle. With who? In his own head with the demons that live there? He added that Russia is currently completing tests on the Burevestnik nuclear-armed cruise missile and the Poseidon nuclear-powered unmanned underwater vehicle. Well, if they went just as good as the tanks that they recently produced, all of which failed, good luck with that. The first mass-produced Sarmat intercontinental heavy ballistic missiles, and we will soon demonstrate them in the base areas of combat duty. Oh, what just happened? What the heck just happened? Okay, yeah, thank you. Putin has traditionally repeated that we did not start this war in Donbass. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, David. Can one of the, I do know a lot of people who have PTSD. Can Kat or someone, can you please take a screenshot of that and send it in the Signal chat? I would really, really, really appreciate that. So we did not start this war in Donbass, and once again stated that the Russian occupiers will do everything to end it, to eradicate Nazism, to solve all the tasks of the special military operation. In addition, following Macron's words, Putin threatened tragic consequences for countries that dare to send their troops to Ukraine. They must understand that we also have weapons that can hit targets on their territory, the Russian president said. So you know what's really funny? Russia has said their red lines would be the West helping Ukraine to begin with. Then Russia said their nuclear red lines are javelins, then HIMARS, then tanks, then jets, then Crimea, then their air force, then their fleet, then their nuclear red lines, where if the territory of Russia is going to be attacked by Ukraine or anyone else, and all of these things have happened. And what has Russia's response been? Their propagandists are just cursing on TV. You know why? Because they can talk about their nuclear arsenal as much as they want, but the reality is that none of them actually know what what condition their nuclear arsenal is in. And and that's why. That's why they won't do anything with it, most likely. Gentle reminder, the fundraiser is at $9,978.63, which is a little over 21 bucks to being 10,000. And today is leap day of leap year. So maybe we can make it 10,000 or like 10,050 or something like that. And maybe we can end this stream on like a super positive note. Not that we're close to the end. Well, we're not like super far, but we're also not like super close. Thank you, Tara. First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska, met with Queen Camilla during her visit to the UK. I expressed gratitude to the royal family and the entire United Kingdom for their consistent support of Ukraine. I am certain that our nations share common values: life, freedom, democracy. We continue to defend them together, Zelenska wrote. Also, I do love Diane's comment here. During USSR, didn't Ukraine help develop the nukes? AKA, I doubt they know how to even use or maintain them. So that's the thing. A lot of the nuclear parts to the nuclear weapons, a lot of the parts to the nuclear weapons have been sold off because corruption. A lot of these nuclear weapons have not been maintained. A lot of these nuclear weapons have not been kept up to par or updated since the Cold War. And most of that nuclear arsenal is from the time of the Cold War. And it has not been maintained. And no one really knows what condition anything is in because the entire government of top officials is surrounded by yes men who will just keep saying what they want Putin to hear. And that's all. New Zealand imposes new sanctions on Russia and Belarus. The sanctions include implementation of the G7 plus price cap on Russian origin oil, making explicit the prohibition of exporting restricted items to Russia and Belarus through third countries, designating 61 individuals and companies to counter evasion efforts. The sanctions targeted organizations that purchase technology for the Russian defense industry, as well as individuals involved in arms purchases from North Korea. Ukraine attacked the largest internet portal in Russia, Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine noted. As a result of the work of Ukrainian cyber experts, all users outside the territory of the Russian Federation and several internal users lost access to their accounts. Oh, sad. Oh. Access to email means not only mail, but also the ability to recover passwords, pass two-factor verification, and access devices, the Ministry of Digital Transformation stated. Russians couldn't access their devices. Also, I saw this like lovely video. Oh, wait, who? Let me see who. Sorry. Martin! Plus $30, which brings us to $10,008.63. Woo! We are 2/3 of the way through. Woohoo! Yay! What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so I saw this video recently where a Russian man was complaining because all of the like Western brands of cars left the market and now it's mostly Chinese cars and Russian made cars, which that's complete garbage. No one buys that. And so if you want like a better vehicle, you have to buy a Chinese car because at least they're serviceable. And so there was a video of him showing how he's trying to use the windshield wipers with like the what's its face with the windshield liquid. What is that thing called? Like the freaking windshield wipers liquid. What do you call that? Anyways, and that liquid was instead of wiper fluid. Okay. Wiper fluid. There we have it. Or cleaner. Okay. So and that fluid was like coming into his car Okay. Instead of like onto the windshield, and it was coming through washer fluid, yes. And it was coming through the like right hand side pocket, like the dashboard pocket, you know. It was fun. It looked great. And he was like complaining about how, Russia is going down. And I'm like, I mean, at least you have Chinese cars now. Be happy. European Parliament calls for the transfer of long-range missiles to Ukraine and the confiscation of Russian assets. Yes, thank you, Taurus. The European Parliament has adopted a resolution in support of Ukraine today. Members of the European Parliament call on the EU countries to provide Ukraine with air defense systems, long-range missiles such as Taurus, Storm Shadow Scalp, various types of artillery and ammunition, 155mm in particular, and drones and weapons to counter them. In addition, the MPs also call on the EU countries to confiscate Russian assets and transfer them to Ukraine's reconstruction and to strengthen sanctions against Russia and Belarus. Oh, Tawny! Thank you so much. So there is 41.37. $10,050. Ooh, so you evened out the amount. Oh, yay. Thank you. And Martin can go to sleep. Martin can go to sleep. Wow. Geez. Martin can go to sleep breathing easily tonight because the amount is even. Thank you, Tawny. I'm happy. Yeah, you can sleep tight tonight. You can sleep calm. G-Man, I'm a professional video editor and Photoshop guy. I'd like to volunteer to help the cause if there is a need. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I know how to use Photoshop and do things like that, but video editing, I'm horrendous at. And there are actually, I have interviews filmed that need to be edited that I don't have time to do. And there's definitely going to be some work in the future that I would be very grateful if someone helped me video edit. So yes, if you can do that, then that would be lovely. Please contact me through Instagram or email. Well, better Instagram or like Twitter or something where there are DMs, and I would be so grateful. You have no idea. Russia must be obliged to pay reparations imposed on it to ensure that it contributes substantially to rebuilding Ukraine, the document states. Thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't think there is a comment needed. Like, I agree with the Euro Parliament, like that needs to happen, and Ukraine needs to I think that we're seeing the change in the rhetoric, right? But I think that what Western countries really need to understand is that it's not, we will support Ukraine as long as it takes. It's, we will support Ukraine with whatever it takes. Ми вже говорили про це на початку стріму дуже довго, тому, на жаль, ми знову про це говорити зараз не будемо. Oh, Tina, thank you! Plus $10.18. So that brings us to $10,060.18. Hi, Giddy! I almost said sex. Although, I forgot what language it was. I think Swedish maybe, or Finnish. Who speaks Swedish or Finnish? Sex is six. Mm-hmm. Or maybe Danish? Could have been Danish. Swedish. Russia halts gasoline exports for 6 months following fires at oil refineries. Aw, sad. I wonder why it would be halting oil exports and why the fires were happening. Sad. So sad. Not really. But yes, that's what Ukraine has been doing. Ukraine has been hitting critical infrastructure for Russia that produces oil and gas because those are the most profitable industries. Norwegian and Danish 6 is sex. I see. Super, more bavovna. I love seeing things in Russia burn. I know, it's so soothing. Smoking incidents at oil refineries. One thing that we can't really just destroy that easily is their diamond industry, and that's huge too. That's a very large chunk of the profit, which a lot of people don't realize it is. The Ministry of Strategic Industries states that Ukrainian manufacturers have produced approximately 200,000 drones since the beginning of the year. The president made a statement about the production of 1 million drones. Our facilities already allow us to produce as many and even more. Currently, we're developing FPV drones of the wing type and light reconnaissance drones, which can be considered an alternative of Mavic. Deputy Minister for Strategic Industries, Hanna Hwezda, told Forbes. This one's interesting. British experts have identified more than 200 companies used by Russia to circumvent sanctions. In a recent investigation of the Royal United Services Institute, together with the Dutch and German media, they discovered illegal procurement networks operating in Germany, Lithuania, and Hong Kong and providing supplies to Russia. Occasionally, these networks are run by trained Russian intelligence officers and people working on their behalf. In other cases, it is a trade with purely financial motivation by people without conscience. Said James Byrne, a representative of the Royal United Kingdom Institute for Defense Studies during a hearing in the U.S. Senate. As a result, supply chains for the Russian military are spread across the globe, often originating in North America or Europe and ending up at military plants across Russia. Jesus. Yeah. That's all I have for today, and we will start with some news about the Netherlands and the lawsuit against Russia for MH17 tomorrow. The reason why I want to end before that news, even though it's out and there is a lot to discuss, is because I want to talk about it extensively, and it is 2:21, and of course I started streaming way later than I was hoping to. Oh, Philip, thank you so much, plus $30, Philip, thank you. That brings us to $10,090.18. And that's a fantastic note to go to bed on. And tomorrow we're going to talk about MH17 and the Dutch lawsuit against Russia. Carlos says, if MH17 happened today, would 100% invoke Article 5? Likely. You're correct. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for being here every evening, and thank you for being so awesome. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. TGIF, right? All right. Good night, guys. So good to see you. I will start trying to do streams earlier so we can also hang out when they're done, when the news is done. Okay. All right. Oh, Rational Squirrel. Oh my gosh. Good to see you. Good night, guys. Oh, Dave, good night. Bye, Frost. Tell Johnny I said hello. Good night. Good night, you guys. Good night.